Tonight, San Antonio Police Chief William McManus is defending his officers' use of force to break up a crowd of protesters last night. Police used pepper balls, smoke, and wooden and rubber projectiles after the chief says bottles were thrown at officers and laser pointers were directed at their eyes. McManus says SAPD's primary objectives were achieved: to allow peaceful demonstration, maintain order, and to prevent anyone from getting hurt. Today, Mayor Nirenberg told the chief the rules of engagement need to be clear.
We want to protect their rights. We want to be able to protect people to peacefully assemble. And so people need to know what would lead to deployment of crowd control.
The chief says as soon as projectiles are thrown, officers will work to disperse the crowds. They tried to issue several warnings, but sometimes it doesn't happen. Police may use tear gas and projectiles. The chief says the projectiles are necessary because instigators often wear gas masks to protect themselves from tear gas.